Most people think top students are just more disciplined. They focus longer. They push harder. But discipline alone doesn't explain real learning. Motivation fades. Energy runs out. What truly separates strong learners is not how long they study, but how they think while studying. You might already spend hours learning every week. You read carefully. You try to stay consistent. Yet the information disappears quickly. That doesn't mean you're lazy or careless. It means your thinking may be stuck. Today is not about forcing productivity. It's about understanding how thinking evolves when learning actually sticks. We'll walk through 6 levels of thinking. You don't need to master all of them. Just moving up one level matters. The first level of thinking is remembering, collecting facts, storing definitions and terms. This is where most studying happens. Highlighting textbooks, rewriting notes. It feels productive because your brain stays busy. But busyness doesn't guarantee understanding. Sometimes it hides confusion. At this level, information stays shallow. It has no structure, no personal meaning. That's why many people forget material soon after exams end. The memory had no depth.
This isn't a personal failure. It's how memory works when meaning is missing.
Remembering is still necessary. It's the foundation. But it cannot stand alone. If learning feels repetitive and lifeless, you're probably staying here too long. And that's very common. The second level is understanding. This is where learning slows down and becomes personal. Understanding begins when you stop copying words and start translating ideas into your own language. You paraphrase concepts. You simplify explanations. You connect new ideas to what you already know. This level often feels harder at first because your brain is actually working. That effort is meaningful. A simple check helps here. Close your notes. Explain the idea out loud. If you struggle, that's not a problem. It shows where clarity is still forming. Confusion becomes visible. Many people mistake familiarity for understanding. Recognizing words feels safe. But safety is not clarity. Real understanding feels quieter. Less excitement. More stability. Once understanding appears, learning becomes less stressful because things finally make sense. The third level is applying. This is where knowledge meets real life. Instead of asking, "Do I know this?" you ask, "Can I use this?" Application might mean solving real problems, testing ideas, trying strategies in daily situations. This level often feels uncomfortable. Mistakes appear. Certainty disappears. But mistakes here are not setbacks. They are feedback. And feedback accelerates learning. When knowledge fails in practice, your brain adapts quickly, much faster than rereading notes. Think about learning to cook. Reading recipes helps. Cooking teaches. Application links thinking to action. What you do stays longer than what you read. At this level, learning becomes active, flexible, responsive to reality. The fourth level is analyzing. This is where thinking becomes sharper. You stop accepting information at face value. You begin asking why things work the way they do. You break ideas into parts. You look for patterns. You notice relationships. Instead of memorizing pieces, you see systems. Structures beneath the surface. Analysis turns chaos into order. Confusion becomes explainable. Overwhelm decreases. A student once shared that studying felt lighter at this stage. Not easier, but clearer. The clarity came from understanding connections, not from learning more content. Less felt like more. Analysis trains your mind to think beneath the surface. This skill transfers everywhere. The fifth level is evaluating. Thinking now turns inward.
What exactly are you smiling at?
You begin questioning not only information, but your own beliefs about learning and ability. Is this idea supported by evidence? Or does it just feel familiar because you've heard it often? Evaluation builds intellectual honesty. You learn to separate truth from comfort.
This level reveals bias. In textbooks, in media, in yourself.
One student believed, "I'm bad at math." Evaluation showed it was a learned story, not a fixed truth. Once questioned, that belief weakened. Progress followed naturally, without forcing motivation. Evaluation creates freedom, because untested assumptions lose their control.
This is metacognition. Thinking about your thinking. Adjusting gently.
The sixth level is creating. Learning becomes expression here. You stop consuming knowledge passively. You begin shaping it through your perspective. Creation doesn't mean inventing something new. It means combining ideas in a personal way.
This could mean teaching someone else, writing a summary, explaining concepts out loud. When you create, multiple brain systems activate together. Memory, logic, imagination, emotion.
That's why understanding feels complete here. Not rushed. Not fragile. A student once recorded short voice notes explaining lessons to herself. Her retention improved without studying longer. Creation locks learning in. Because knowledge is no longer borrowed. It's transformed.
At this level, learning feels calm, grounded, sustainable.
These 6 levels aren't for perfect students. They're for anyone tired of forcing progress. You don't need to reach the top. One level higher than yesterday is enough. If learning feels exhausting, you may not need more effort. You may need a different approach. Notice where you are right now. Remembering, understanding, applying. Choose one gentle shift upward. No pressure, no rush. That's how learning becomes lighter. Not through pushing, but through clarity. Progress doesn't need to be loud. It needs to be consistent and kind to your mind. You're allowed to move slowly. Understanding lasts longer when it's built gently. Learning doesn't have to hurt to be meaningful. It can feel peaceful.
Move gently, stay consistent, simple steps, steady progress. Subscribe if you want to grow without pressure.